Good morning. It's lovely to see so many of you attending today's program, showing the keen interest Musical Club takes in our Storrs scholars. David Schonfeld has asked me to say a few words about this scholarship fund. In 1985, about 35 years ago, Evelyn Boner Storrs, a longtime former member of Musical Club, established the Evelyn Boner Storrs Scholarship Fund to, in quotes, provide scholarships for advanced and talented students of piano, end quotes. These are the guiding words for the work of the Scholarship Fund Committee. Each year, Musical Club receives a sum of money from that fund, and the committee has the happy task of giving it all away. The amount we receive varies from year to year, following the vagaries of the stock market. In the last 10 years, the amount has ranged from $25,000 to $41,000. The committee allocates some of this money for high school students or to musical organizations or schools, but most of it is given directly to university students, sometimes at the undergraduate level, but most often to students in graduate level programs. Usually these students hear about the scholarship from their teachers, but they also find us by Googling piano scholarships in Connecticut, leading them right to Musical Club's website. You can try this out yourself. By April 1st of each year, students submit an application, which includes an essay about their short and long-term goals and their plans for the money, a list of public performances and the repertoire they've performed, a letter of recommendation from their teacher, and a recording of 2 contrasting pieces. The committee members peruse these application materials on their own and then come together to decide how to distribute the funds. In evaluating applications, we keep performance level and ability foremost. But we also look at the whole person with the idea of wanting to support students who bring something special to the musical world. We prioritize funds for degree programs, but also give money for summer festivals and competitions, necessary components of a pianist's education in today's world. Typically, we receive 12 to 18 applications, nearly always from well-qualified students. The number of students who receive scholarships and the size of the awards is determined by the funds available and our evaluations. We take our work seriously, spending many hours, giving our best efforts and determining how to allocate the funds to these deserving young, advanced, and talented pianists. And we always wish we had more money to give. Still, it's gratifying to support these fine students. And when you meet the Storrs scholars appearing in this program, with more to come in April, you'll see why. Thanks. And now for David and these students.
Thank you, Linda. That was very informative. I actually learned a lot about the committee and what you do. We had, I don't remember the exact number of scholarships awarded in 2020, but of those recipients, 11 responded affirmatively when I invited them to participate in this event. So kind of at the last minute, our committee decided to split the group in half so that each of the scholarship winners would have enough time to talk and play. So we have one session today and the second follow-up in April with a different cast of characters. So I hope you'll find today's program interesting and come back in 4 weeks. I have to say I'm humbled to be in the presence of so much talent. I have watched the videos that were provided by today's participants, and all of them are amazing pianists and musicians, and I think you'll all get that impression today. What I'm going to do is ask a number of questions to get us started, but almost all of our guests will have an opportunity to play the piano today for us also. So there will be plenty of music, so do stay tuned. And I'll ask the questions in a kind of a random order. I will call on one person at a time. Um, there's no rhyme or reason to the order in which I will mention the names. So here's the first question I'd like to put out. At the time you applied for the scholarship 1 year ago, almost exactly a year ago, all of you in today's program, all of you were affiliated with the Hartt School. I'd like to start our conversation today by asking you in turn to tell us where you have spent the past year, what your current academic status is, and who your principal teacher is. So where you've been the past year, what your academic status is, and who you're principally studying with. Let's start with Ina Jun.
Hello, my name is Ina, and my teacher is Professor Rutman. And last year, I was on my second semester of the DMA piano program here at Hartt.
Excellent. And have you been in the Hartford area this whole year?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Great. Guangfu He.
Yes, I'm here. Yeah.
Welcome. And thank you for dressing up today. That makes us feel very special.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah. I always in Hartford and practice the piano. My teacher also is Professor Paul Rutman, and yeah, this is my last semester of my graduate study.
So you're doing a master's.
Yes.
I see. Very good. And Chenyu Wang.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, this is hopefully my last year of my DMA in Hartt, hopefully. Well, I have done all the recitals and I'm working on my dissertation right now. I'm not in Hartford area because of the pandemic. I am right now in Chicago area.
In Chicago?
Yeah.
Do you have family there?
Yes.
Uh-huh, excellent. So you're in a good place.
Oh.
And you're able to do your academic work online.
Yes.
Very convenient. Yuanyuan Liu.
Hi, I'm also like a DMA student at Hartt, and this is my second year. And for the past of the whole year, I was in Hartford for the whole time. Yeah, and my professor is also Paul Rutman.
Paul Rutman. He seems to be a very popular person to work with.
Yeah, he's fantastic. Yeah.
Man Cheung. Good morning.
Hey, hi.
Yes, we talked to you back in October, so some of our participants may recognize your mask.
Hopefully. I'm currently a undergrad student, and this is my last semester. And before the pandemic, I studied with David Schonfeld, but he decided to retire because of the pandemic. So currently, I'm finishing my undergrad study with Professor Maggie
Francis.
Yes. And I am in the Hartt School in a practice room. So I've been in Hartford for a couple months. Like.
Did you go back to Asia, to Hong Kong?
Yes. During the summer, I go back to Hong Kong, and then I decided to come back to continue my study, like in person in here.
Great. And Yoshino Toi, welcome.
Hi, good morning. I am currently in Hartford, Connecticut. I was in Hartford last year when the pandemic hit, well, I guess I've been here this whole time. I studied with David Schonfeld at Hartt, and then I started my master's at Indiana University with Professor Norman Krieger. However, because of the pandemic, all my classes and teaching, everything has been online. So I have stayed in Hartford. Yeah.
I see, but you're a student at IU now, not at Hartt.
Yes. Yes.
Uh-huh. How do you find the difference between the two academic environments?
School wise?
Yeah, well, of course, it's hard to say since you're not actually on the campus in Bloomington.
Yeah, it's very difficult for me to say. In a way, I also didn't experience uh online classes at Hartt. I finished my studies before the pandemic hit, so um, all of it is very new, and it's been very interesting.
I'll bet. Okay, the second question that I'll ask, um, and some of you have already alluded to this a little bit, how has the pandemic shutdown affected you and your career plans? And another question, how has the Storrs Scholarship, how has the scholarship money been of help to you? Guangfu, can you answer those questions?
Yes, after school closed, I can't go into practice room to play the piano, and I can't do my piano lesson alive. So everything moves remotely, and so I want to thank to Hartford Musical Club to help me, and with your financial support, I am able to rent this piano and for my practice, and that's great for me, and I'm really appreciate.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I think we're all very glad that we could have such an obviously useful effect. Very nice. Homan, how has the pandemic affected you and your plans, and how has the money been of use to you?
I think the pandemic affect me. Like the most concern is about the distance between people because of the pandemic. So we are forced to keep some distance in between people. So oftentimes when I go to school, I have to hide myself in a practice room instead of like talking to people and playing to different people. But at the same time, I'm still very happy that my teacher Maggie insists to come to school to give in-person lessons, and I think it makes a very huge difference. Like, and for the Hartford Scholarship, because this is my audition year, so I spent some of the money to try to study with some professor from different university, and I think it's very fun to and useful to study with different people.
Excellent. Thank you. Ina Jun. I think we need to unmute you, please.
Yeah, so the pandemic has been especially hard for me because, I know that it is for everyone, but I was having a kind of hard time adjusting my lifestyle to all of a sudden just being at home all day, not having an interaction with people. And especially as a pianist, like we have a limited interactions with musicians in general. And all we do is just practice piano at home or at school. So but I feel grateful that I can somehow manage my schooling under this circumstance, and I enjoy having the virtual lesson with my professor, who's very enthusiastic, and we somehow worked our ways through this. So I feel very grateful for that. And in terms of the scholarship money, I had to use that to cover the tuition, my tuition, because after the pandemic hit, I couldn't go to school, and so all of the accompanying assistantship has been paused. So all the assistantship money has not be given to students after that. So I had to use that money to cover the tuition that was supposed to be covered by the assistantship.
Thank you. Chenyu?
Oh yeah, first I just agree with what other people just said. I think the pandemic for pianists, the pandemic affected me. First the practice. I do have a piano at home, but like sometimes the neighbors think I play too loud, something like that. So yes, and they want me to play only on the like the pianissimo sound, but that's impossible like for a pianist. So that's very hard, and also I'm not able to take lessons, and also because I'm not in Hartford area, so will be hard to take lessons. And also in terms of the scholarship, I think, well, because I am a part-time teacher in a music academy, so there are some like a student, they stop their lessons, they stop their music class because of the pandemic, which I totally understand, because even myself don't like the online lessons as well. But because of this reason, I think the scholarship really helpful, especially during this time.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
Yoshino, what is your response?
The pandemic has been very difficult to sort of I mean, I think it all started when school shut down, when everything shut down, started with sort of the practice space and not having a piano, and then sort of going from there. I've been very grateful that I've been able to practice on a piano here now, but it wasn't always that case. So it really made me grateful to be able to, be able to play. But then at the same time, it's very difficult when you can't share that in a space with people. So I'm hopeful that things will change in the near future. Sorry, I'm losing my thought here.
No, that you raise a good point, that the pandemic doesn't just affect you, it causes the cancellation of all concerts. So people can't come and hear you play, you can't play in public. Yes, it isolates everyone.
Yeah, it's been a very a lot of mixed feelings. On one part, I'm really really grateful that I can still do this, but on the other part, sorry, I'm really losing my thought.
That's okay. We'll move on to Yuanyuan, and you'll think of some things to say in a little bit later.
Yeah, so I think like others mentioned before, like first like when the school shut down, like I didn't have access to a piano, and then later the school able to offer a like electric piano to me. That I was like very grateful, but there's a difference between the real acoustic piano and the electric one, and the weight and stuff. So when the school starts again, when I eventually came back to school to practice, like everything just feels weird. Like my hand is can like produce a big sound, and everything's just weird. And also because um, the electric piano you can adjust the sound, so in order to not disturb the neighbors, so I put the volume is very low. And then when I suddenly play on a real piano, I'm like, wow, why this sound is so big. Yeah, so that was took me some time to get used to a real piano as well. Another side is because I'm from China, and because all the travel ban and stuff, like I couldn't go home almost for like 2 years now. So I'm quite like miss home. And for the in terms of the scholarship, because I was preparing for my first DMA recital, which I played in last December. So like when I finally got a piano, so I used the money to take some extra lessons with the teacher in order to play a better recital, and that was really helpful, and I'm really like feeling grateful. Yeah.
Thank you. A little later, I'm going to ask some questions specifically about pianos, about the instruments themselves. And I also, we're going to have you perform, those of you who have access to a piano and don't have troublesome neighbors in a moment. But I just want to ask one more question before we listen to you play. I would like you to tell us a little bit about your background, your individual background leading up to your admission to the Hartt School. And Yuanyuan, we'll go in reverse order. Would you, since you just had the mic, can you tell us a little bit about your background leading up to your admission to Hartt?
I studied for my undergrad in China. I mean, I came here for masters, and then like after 2 years master, I took like 1 year gap, like just like focus on practicing in order to get a DMA. So now I'm the second year for DMA student at Hartt. Yeah.
Very nice. Yoshino, your background? Tell us a little bit about your background leading up to your coming to Hartford.
Well, coming to Hartford, so I am originally from Japan. I was born there, but I actually started piano in Singapore, where I moved for my younger years. And then I moved back to Japan, and then I actually moved to Hartford, West Hartford, when I was in 7th grade, so in middle school. So I'm sort of from around here at this point. And so I stayed here for middle school, high school, and then I actually ended up at Hartt for my undergrad studies. After my undergrad studies, I worked at Hartt for 1 year. Whoops, sorry. And yeah, I guess I'm still here. Yeah.
Great. Chenyu, your background?
Oh yeah, I'm also come from China, but I went to United States almost 10 years ago. Yes, actually, yeah, 10 years ago. I did my undergraduate at Eastman School of Music in Rochester, and then I completed my master degree in at Indiana University, and then I went to Hartford to do my DMA, and I also studied with Paul Rutman.
Great. Ina?
I did my undergrad at Hartt. I actually started piano at the age of 5, and I got into a music school for my university program in Korea, but I transferred to the Hartt School for my undergrad to study the remaining years. And after that, I moved to California to do some, work like teaching job. And after that, I did my master's at I always have a hard time saying it. It's California State University of Sacramento with Professor Richard Chunko. And after that, I just moved right back to Hartford. Maybe Hartford is my second hometown, I guess. So yeah, here I am here at Hartford.
Thank you, Ina. Holman, your background? We know you come from Hong Kong, right?
Yeah. I come from Hong Kong, and I was born and raised in Hong Kong. And it wasn't like maybe. And I started piano, start my piano study at the age of 5, and then it wasn't until maybe 15 I decided that maybe I want to further my study in college level, and then I decided maybe I want to go to study abroad, the United States. And because a music festival in China, I have the chance to meet my former professor, David Westphal. So after that, I decided that maybe I want to study with this professor. So this is why I came to Hartford, and this is my 3rd year, 4th year in Hartford.
Interesting. So it was David Westfall who lured you to Hartford
Yes.
in a way. Interesting. Guangfu?
Yeah, I studied in China before. I completed my undergraduate degree there, and after that I come to United States, and I'm doing my master of piano of performance program now, and I just admitted in the DMA program, so I will continue my studying in Hartt School in the fall.
Excellent. So if all goes well, we'll actually be able to see you in person at Millard Auditorium at some point.
Thank you.
Why don't you, I think you're prepared to play something for us today. Would you maybe go first and tell us a little bit about what you're going to play and why you chose it?
Okay, today I'm going to perform the first, sorry, I can't see myself. Okay, can you see me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we can see you. I'm removing spotlights. Hang on.
Okay.
So that you will be the main spotlight.
I'm going to perform the first movement of Scriabin Sonata Number 2.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did the wrong one. Sorry. There we go.
Okay, now I see myself. And that's a beautiful piece composed by Scriabin.
Scriabin seems to be a favorite of advanced piano students. Is it the challenging technical aspects that attract people to Scriabin, or something else?
Yeah, it's very difficult to play the note.
Okay.
But this piece is beautiful and I like it.
Okay, we look forward to hearing it. And I should say one thing, and this applies to all of the pianists. Just in case there's a technical glitch and the sound quality, because of the miking and all of that, if it's really, really bad and people are not comfortable, I may have to interrupt. So I apologize to all of you pianists in advance. It's not because of your musicianship if I have to interrupt. I don't think that's likely, but I just want to say that. Carry on. Thank you so much. That was just beautiful. I don't think I'd ever heard that piece before. Say again, this Scriabin, was it a
It's
prelude?
the first movement of Scriabin Sonata Number 2.
Sonata number 2.
Yes.
Beautiful piece, and you played it so sensitively. I'm envious of your hands, those beautiful long fingers, perfect for musical instruments. I'm curious whether any of the other pianists in the panel have worked on this piece. Have any of you worked on this piece, the sonata? Ina? Ina, unmute. Tell us your experience of the piece.
Yeah, I worked on that piece when I was in my master's program, and I really loved it. I mean, his music is like similar to Chopin's, but more mystic in a way, and I love this his playing. So thank you for the beautiful performance.
Oh, thank you. Since you're on mic, perhaps you would like to play for us also.
Okay. So I will be playing Chopin Sonata number 2 in D flat minor, the first movement.
Would you like to say a word about why you chose the piece, or what aspect of it interests you at the present time?
Yeah, I worked on this piece for my first DMA recital last semester. My professor actually wanted me to study this for my master's, my first recital. So I really loved it. It's technically challenging and musically very demanding. So I learned a lot.
Thank you. We look forward to hearing it. Thank you, Ina. Very passionate music, very passionately played. The music of this period, of the Romantic era, was very much connected to poetry, to fiction, to painting. I wonder, in your mind, is this movement telling a story? Do you think of it as telling a dramatic story?
Sorry, I need to like
Take a breath.
yeah. Yeah, I think that for me, at first when I started working on this piece, I didn't really have image in my mind to really grab onto, but as I was working on it and after I read about the background of this piece, I kind of felt like Chopin wrote it. He wrote it in the later part of his life, I think, when he was living in the George Sand mansion or the house. And he knew that he was very ill. So I felt like at the beginning, the very urgent and nervous part of the piece, I felt like he was running away from death almost, very, and very tragic beginning, I felt like it kind of spoke to me in a way that about his death or something, something like that.
Excellent. Yes. Thank you. And that's probably a piece that others in the panel have also worked on or intend to work on. Let's go to Homan, because back in October, we kind of shortchanged you. You didn't get much of an opportunity to play. What would you like to play for us today and why?
So today I want to play Shostakovich, Prelude and Fugue. This is a very pretty late work of him, and this is so he composed 24 Prelude and Fugue, and this is the last one, the 24 in D minor, and it is very often that if you see Prelude or Prelude and Fugue, the last one is usually extraordinary. So after I finished my audition, like, cause when I was forced to play a lot of virtuoso piece, so I decided to explore the more spiritual side and mentally challenge myself. And because this piece is still quite new to me, so I my fugue is not ready yet. There are much more going in the fugue, but today I want to play you a little bit at actually the prelude to give you a feeling of how the piece goes and to see the how emotion like Shostakovich was when he was composing the piece. And as a pianist, I want to explore like how come the work is so extraordinary, like what he has experienced in order to compose such um, deep piece. And please interrupt me if the quality is not that good, because last time I tried to play something and I know it turns out it wasn't as good as I expected. So please let me know, but still I will try my best.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. That's very simple music, or I would say deceptively simple.
And I think this is the magic part of this music, because this is a prelude and fugue. So the music idea is very simple, but as the piece go on, it will develop the most simple idea in the most condensed way and a complex way. So as it turns out, the piece will become a extraordinary piece. And in the fugue, because this is a full voice fugue, and this is a double fugue, which means there is two subjects going on at the same time. So they will be very complex, and there are some materials that develop from the prelude, because I don't want to turn this into a piano lecture. So if you're interested, I think this is a very good piece to listen to.
Now, Shostakovich wrote this set after hearing a performance of the Bach Well-Tempered Clavier. So obviously he was inspired by Bach. Do you feel something about Bach in that particular prelude?
Firstly, because this is a prelude and fugue, and Bach prelude and fugue is like the Bible of piano. So obviously, every composer have studied it, and in a lot of composing technique, like the subject, the counter subject, and so I mean, he composed it with great respect to Bach, and but in a way it's different, that because the piano was capable to do a lot of more effect, and he is allowed to give much more emotion into the music. So in a way it's different, that you can use more pedal, bigger sound, and more articulation, in a way different than Bach, but definitely he composed it with great respect to Bach. Yes.
Can you show us an example from the fugue of where one of those themes from the prelude recurs?
Yeah,
just an example.
Prelude. It is not very often that you can find a connection between the prelude and fugue, but this one is, because it's the last one, so it has to be extraordinary. So in the prelude that I play, there is basically three sections. The first section start with something like that, and suddenly everything become quiet. This is a theme that you will encounter in the prelude, in the fugue, but in different key, this time in D minor. And then this is the first theme. It will appears again later in the piece with another subject goes together. So basically there's a lot of things that drive you crazy in your mind happening.
Excellent. I can see you have a talent for explaining music as well as for performing it. I'm sure you'll make use of that as your career unfolds. Thank you. We also want to listen to Yoshino, who I think is also going to play some Chopin for us.
Yes, hi.
Hello, Yoshino.
Hi, so I'm going to be playing a segment of, so just a little bit from the beginning of his first scherzo in B minor, Opus 20. Sorry, I keep dropping my word. This is something I've been sort of wanting to play for a while. His scherzi and his ballades just are pieces that I grew up with and I love, and I have not played all of them, but I would love to someday. So I'm sort of working towards that one by one. So
you, if I'm understanding correctly, these are pieces that you cycle back to. I mean, you've played them long ago, and probably periodically you take it out, and now you're working on it in a different way.
No, actually, so this first scherzo I haven't played. I started working on it recently. But I've played a few of his other the scherzi and ballades, and yeah.
What particular challenges does the B minor scherzo present?
I think the B minor scherzo is I mean it's technically challenging, but more than that, I think it's very theatrical, and it has a lot of character. It has a lot of angst, but then there's also this beautiful middle section that is just so beautiful. So it's a very contrasting work, and yeah, I think. And one more thing about the scherzi is that it sort of repeats itself a lot. There's this main idea that happens at the beginning of the piece, and it's sort of you sort of play the same thing 5 or 6 times throughout the piece. So I think one challenge is to sort of feel a different story, or there are a lot of different things. I think part of it is that Chopin had this improvisatory nature, and this was sort of part of that, yeah.
When the theme comes back again and again, is it usually in a different key?
It's actually in the same key.
Always in the same. So that's a challenge to the pianist.
Yeah.
To make it sound somehow different.
Yeah, it's great music. Okay. I think this should be good. Okay, so I'll be playing just the first few pages.
Thank you. You probably need a few minutes to decompress, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
That piece also has a demonic quality, not all that different from the B flat sonata, don't you think?
Yeah, yeah. Um, I guess the key is different, but I think the key B minor is just very, very, I don't know, very
Yes,
dark and
it has significance for composers, B
I
minor,
think
right?
so.
For Shostakovich and Bach as well, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. What else? Yeah, do you see a story in that?
Yeah, I think the character evolves throughout the piece. It's very interesting that the middle section is in B major, not B minor, because I mean I think I find B minor really dark but also revealing, where B major is just really warm and it's sort of like this lullaby in the middle section. Um, yeah, and I think there's sort of like this devilish character, like you said, that have a play in the whole piece that sort of like take its mask off at the end. So yeah,
I hear some of the same affect as in Schubert's song, The Erlkönig. You may be familiar with that. Almost like a riding or a driving
yeah,
pulse to it.
yeah. It's definitely driving.
You know, I don't think you can approach Chopin in an abstract way. It's very rich in, in emotion and in meaning. Yes, wonderful. Well, carry on with that. Now, the other pianists, if I'm not mistaken, do not have access to a piano this morning. Am I right? Chenyu and Yuanyuan? We certainly don't want to neglect you, but if I'm not mistaken, you don't have the ability to play the piano this morning. So I would like to ask a question. We're at 11:08. I think we can go a few more minutes. Here's a question that I think you may be the ideal panel to address to. Americans of European extraction are amazed by the relatively recent and sudden flowering of Western classical music in the Asian countries that you all represent. At the end of World War II, there were relatively few Asians studying Western music, at least as far as I know. It wasn't very prominent when I was young and studying music. Now the field of classical music is populated largely by people of an ethnic Asian background. As people who are actually participating in this phenomenon, I'm very curious what your view is, what your explanation is. It's a remarkable phenomenon to many of us, and I'd like to get your take on it. Maybe we'll start with Chenyu, since you didn't get to play for us this morning. You unmute, please.
Yeah, okay. Yes, my teacher always talked to me that when he was young, it is he just could not imagine that how many Chinese people were gonna study piano like nowadays, which I can totally imagine because I think it is the same thing as the development of the like the development of like the culture and everything. People get more familiar with the Western culture, and Western music as a part of the Western culture, it like attract like more and more Chinese people, and also because of the first thing is they want to have the chance the chance to get to know Western culture, and the second thing is it is one opportunity for them to go overseas and study like something new, something different.
Yuan, do you have comments on this issue?
Um, I think it's also like except what Chenyu said. I think another reason might be because nowadays the life standards goes like higher. Cause before that, like, cause at least as I know, like in China, if you want to take a lesson, maybe also in Western country, I mean, the fees are not like low. It's kind of like high and expensive. So if like nowadays the living standard goes higher, maybe they just have those money to support the kids to learn an instrument, something like this. Because before probably they want to like more concentrate on academic stuff, and also like because if you have like something which like you know something which other people don't know, you also might have like a bigger chance to become some kind of person or like to get into a better school or something like this, I think.
Did your parents encourage you to study Western music?
Yeah, my mom like did, because I didn't really know what is piano until like my mom brought me to a like a music salon and says like, do you like this, do you want to learn this, like, yeah.
Uh-huh. Thank you. Guangfu, you're also from China.
Yes.
What is your sense of this phenomenon?
I believe economy is the basement, is the foundation, and we do improve our living after the World II, and our country become more strong than before. So the people start to study the Western music, to enjoy the music, and I will study from the age of 7, and at that at that moment the piano tuition is not expensive. It's like at most the $20 every hour, and when I play, my level become higher and higher, so I change the teacher, and the tuition become expensive. But I really do love music, and that's why I I come to United States, because in China we rarely have the DMA program in China. So if I need pursue more the higher level in my career, I must go abroad.
Interesting. Did your parents purchase a piano for your home?
They give me financial support, and with some of your help, so I ran this instrument.
But when you were young,
Oh, one, yes, they give everything they can give. They support me.
fascinating. Ho Man, you were born in Hong Kong.
Yes.
I'm gathering that Hong Kong was a little bit more westernized than mainland China at that time.
Yeah. Because due to the history, so we have a earlier connection with the Western culture. So we were able to listen to Western music maybe earlier than China, because China, it takes more time to open the culture to the Western, to absorb something from the Western. But Hong Kong, we were under the rule of British government, so we have more opportunity to play and to listen to that. But still, it has a lot of things to do with the economy, as all the scholars said, like, because music is always a next level enjoyment. Like, it is not very practical skill, right? Like, mentally, yes, I mean, to me it's very important and practical, but to commoners is hard to, you can, like, you have to eat, right? But I think you understand me. So I think the music culture in Hong Kong is because we have a earlier opportunity to develop. So in a way, this is the music culture in Hong Kong is much is more developed, like well developed, and we have the music festival, and every year we invited a lot of orchestra to collaborate with a lot of local musicians. like last year, I think maybe London Symphony come to collaborate with some of the young pianists from Hong Kong, and yes, this is what I think.
Yeah. I have a feeling that in maybe 5 or 10 years, American and European students will be going to Asia for their advanced study in music. I expect that will happen if it's not already happening. Now, Ina, you come from Korea originally, and America was very much involved in the Korean, what we call the Korean War. Maybe you call it the American War. But how did the classical music come to play such a big role in South Korea?
I think it's pretty similar to other countries. After post-war, Korean people, I guess, starting to take care of their mental well-being and more culturally developed. So I think one of the way was to learn Western music instruments, Western instruments. Um, so when I was growing up, it was during the 90s. I think still then learning piano was very popular, and it was very available to normal people. So that's how I started my piano playing, and after that I decided to do like more serious studying. But learning Western instrument was very popular and more accessible. It was not too expensive. Um, yeah, and but now like everyone plays, and all the major music conservatory. There's always Asians, so I think there's more what is it called? There's more people available than the demand. That's what I kind of look it as. But I think it's great. But on the other hand, I feel like the Korean traditional music is kind of being neglected. So that's another thing. Maybe there should be another way to incorporate those two and create something new.
If we had more time, I would want to get into that whole issue of the traditional musics and the classical musics from all of your country's traditions, because that's something that Westerners know very little about. But I don't think we have time to get into that now. I'm curious, though, whether piano playing in particular is considered to be a desirable quality in a bride.
Um, I think that was back then. That was like the mindset of my parents' era. Okay, you are a girl, But my parents were not like that. My mom wanted me to do whatever I want to do. So it was not a pressure on me. But from what I was understanding, people wanted girls to be more feminine, and the feminine way to be is to learn beautiful musical instrument. And yeah, I've seen friends who got into piano and musical field because of that reason. But it's a different story for everyone. So
Were your parents also involved in music?
no, they were not musicians.
No,
No.
but they encouraged you, obviously.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Yoshino, we haven't talked about Japan or Singapore. Um, a very different story there, since Japan and the United States were enemies until the end of World War II, and the United States did all that it could to destroy Japan. Um, how do you account for the interest in Western classical music in Japan after the war?
Well, I think it's pretty similar to all the other countries and what everyone said about how it sort of developed. Um, yeah, I think oftentimes now, well, I think even my parents' generations, it was a very um, it was something that you sort of did as a child. You did some sports, you did some music, and I think taking piano lessons was sort of like an outlet for that. Um, I think there is some demand of classical music in Japan as well. There are professional people that play, and also a lot of people that come and play in Japan as well. Yeah, I think it's also interesting because they have the Yamahas and Kawaiis are from Japan, and I think maybe that might take a big part on sort of having pianos around concert venues or just at home and making it more accessible.
That's a good point. The whole world now depends on Japanese musical instruments to a great extent. We need to start wrapping up now. I'm just curious, maybe Yoshino, while you're still unmuted, what does the future hold for you?
That's a great and very big question. Well, short term, I'm going to just finish up my degree, and hopefully move to Indiana in the fall. I heard that they'll be doing in-person things, so I'm very hopeful for that. I think in the long run, I'm a little stuck. I would like to study more for sure, but I really liked I really like playing with people, and when you play solo piano, you sort of play by yourself, and it's well, I mean, the pandemic also sort of made it more difficult, but I enjoy that very much. So I hope to sort of explore that a little bit more.
You did a chamber program with Rajan Kapoor, the cellist, recently. So you'd like to do, I guess, more collaborations, something like that.
Yeah. I would love to do a mix of things. Explore more music too. That would be great.
Wonderful. Well, I hope we don't lose touch with you when you move off to Indiana finally.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll be back all the time.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Guangfu,
Yes.
Guangfu, what does the future hold in store for you, at least in the next year or two?
I like doing collaboration with another instrumenters. Actually, I did the chamber music with with a Uber and a basson player, and but the Corona come, and we just stopped the pieces in the middle, and that hurt me. So I always play piano by myself in home, and I'm very looking forward the things come back to normal, and I have the chance to play on the stage. I have the chance to collaborate with another musicians.
Excellent. And when you complete your doctorate, do you plan on staying on in the US or going back to China or going elsewhere?
I don't have that clear idea. Maybe I can keep in study in Europe, something like that. And it's not say that I must apply for a job when I done my DMA program. Maybe I will keep studying and do some competitions. Yes, that's my plan.
Good. Well, never stop studying.
Yeah.
Ina, what do you plan to do in the next year or two?
My immediate goal is to finish my degree, and I think I have 2 more years left. So I'm looking forward to that. And while I'm studying, I would like to, collaborate with more musicians and maybe find more venues or platforms to share my music. I think that's the most important thing because, opportunity like this is very essential for performers, and I really appreciate this so much. That was actually my first performance to people on that piece because I had to do my recital recording instead of having a real recital. So I feel like I learn more by performing for others. So, yeah.
Well, best of luck to you. Chenyu, you're in Chicago now.
Yes.
Where do you see yourself physically, and where do you see yourself musically and professionally in the next year or two?
I'm gonna graduate in this May. So this right now is like the difficult time for me to choose my career in the future. So I haven't decided whether I should like stay in this state or going back to China. Well, I think it depends on like many different things. But like in terms of my career, I like both performing in the public and I also like teaching, because I think in both ways I can share my music or my music thought to other people's, which is what I like.
Wonderful. I'm sure you'll be very successful.
Thank you.
Yuanyuan, same question?
So I'm like at the same path as Ina because we came to the DMA program at the same time. So first I need to finish my program, and then during the meantime I want to like I hope the COVID can end soon. Like we can have audience when we play something. Because when I played my recital in December, it was so weird because there was just no audience in. Because I played in Milan, it's fake, but there's no audience.
I watched it. I would think there was one pair of hands clapping.
Yeah, that's that's Maggie Francis, the Professor Maggie Francis. Yeah, and yeah, because I really like to play in front of people for some reason. Like also like my professor also said this about me. Like whenever like I play for people, I play better than like like when I play publicly, I play better. So I really want to get back to play recitals and stuff, and also expand my repertoire. Maybe also like if I can go a competition or something like this. And my final goal is like I want to like open a music school like in China, because like you said there's so many people are starting learning music, but not all the teachers like are professional. And so somehow I want to connect the resource I have here with China, so bring the good things to those Chinese students, and maybe also bring more students to United States, something like this. Yeah.
Okay, we'll all benefit. Thank you. Now, Homan, you're still an undergraduate, so the future is a little different in your case, but I think you already mentioned that you're thinking about graduate study in piano.
Yes. Since I'm slightly younger than the rest of the scholars, so firstly, I think I still want to continue my master study. So I have applied to different school, and I am still waiting for some good news. And so I think I enjoy sharing music with different people, and I enjoy how music connects people. So I I'm thinking to trying to use music to connect more people in maybe different aspect, performing, teaching, or even master classes, competitions, music festival. So this is some direction that I plan to do.
Wonderful. Well, music is all about communication, and certainly our field has been hurt badly by this this shutdown for this past year. Well, we're out of time. Deborah, do I end this or do I pass it over to you?
I am just wanted to thank you, David, and thank all of our scholars today. It was just so wonderful to see you, and I wish we had another hour to hear more about where you've been, but also where you're going. And we just wish you all the luck and good fortune, and hopefully that you will have a chance very soon to play in front of others. We've just really appreciated you taking the time for us today. Congratulations on your talent and your hard work.